Do you ever get up to go to the bathroom? If so, what are your standards?
Yes. I don't want to get very graphic, might not be the word. TMI, I think would be the right word. But generally the fluid intake and then capacity, the intake is maybe a little more proportionately high than the capacity. So at some point there definitely becomes a time where I have to make that decision. Am I going to get up and run to the restroom, or are we going to deal with this? It depends on the movie. If it's something that I feel like is so well written that every line of dialogue, like for example, Oppenheimer, 2 hours in, I was like, I really gotta go, but I'm not missing any of this. I know I'm gonna miss like and I sat through it for an hour. If I'm watching some movie and I know that this is gonna be a 10-minute fight sequence and it's half CGI and it's not contributing anything much to the story anyway, I at that point am saying, okay, this is the time for the bathroom break. So yeah, the other thing, I mean, not to encourage people to use performance enhancing drugs, but sometimes taking a Eurostat before a long viewing experience or car ride or any of that stuff can be a useful thing to do that, you know, maybe makes it a little less torturous to sit through, really needing to use the loo, as I think you said. What are your standards?
Well, the examples that I have are two movies that I was waiting for a very long time. So there was The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, and there was Star Wars, The Force Awakens, where I had to, pardon my French, piss like a racehorse because I mean, well, it was understandable when I was 12, 13 with Lord of the Rings because I had the hubris to say, I'm ordering myself the biggest soda and drank it before the movie even started. And so I was like, wait, I've been waiting all year for this movie. I'm not going to miss this. And then obviously 10 years ago when The Force Awakens came out, it was the continuation of what happened after Return of the Jedi. So it's like, I can't get up. I can't move.
I think it's probably I think everybody's probably dealt with this situation unless they have some sort of high capacity. I'll leave it at that. But it's a dilemma, and sometimes you gotta just sit through the pain and watch it, because if you find out you missed like the most important part, which is 100% of the time that you get up to leave, that's hard.
I remember when the first Harry Potter movie came out, I had to go to I went to see it twice in theaters, and I had to go to the bathroom at the exact same point. And that was where near the end, Harry has to get on the broom to chase the keys that are flying to get the proper key into the end. So it was both times I saw it, I missed that scene. But I don't think there was anything consequential that I missed.
I don't even remember it. It's been a while because I've blacklisted the franchise. But
well, on to my next question. I basically alluded to it. Is I saw that Harry Potter movie twice. It's very common when we're kids to go to the movies to see the same one multiple times. But have you done that as an adult?
Yes. So in terms of going to the same venue, the same format, the only movie that I could think of is Interstellar. And the first time I watched it, there was a lot of it I didn't get for one reason or another. And then I went back and watched it again by myself, and it was completely magical. And both experiences were on 35mm film at the Lowe's Boston Common. And it was really cool to then kind of see the same, you're given the same general experience with the differentiation I made earlier that you're watching it on film, so it inherently is a different viewing experience. But that's for the same venue, format, film. That's the only example I could think of. Other ones I could think of, generally the maybe something that I had watched on a smaller screen, and then said, you know what, I'm going to make the effort to watch this on a film projection in a movie theater, Blade Runner being one of those examples. There have been several of those, but in terms of, just kind of going back and watching the same thing in the same theater more times, no. But that was a common thing for you?
Well, growing up, obviously, you definitely go to see the Star Wars movies multiple times, but as an adult, it doesn't happen as frequently as it used to. I did see The Force Awakens in theaters 3 times. I saw The Rise of Skywalker twice in theaters, but I think in this decade, the 2020s, I don't think I've been to the movie theater twice for a single repeat. But I remember in college, I saw Avatar 3 times on screen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the first time I saw it was on 2D, and we didn't get a chance to see it in 3D. So when I went to see it the second time in 3D, that was at the Lowe's in Boston, I was able to better appreciate it. And then maybe a month or so later, I saw it on an IMAX 3D. So that's what made it even better.
Yeah, and that, I think being able to compare the different formats is awesome, and you can get different things out of that. One thing, too, that within our lifetime, it probably was less of an issue than maybe 10 years before, but the idea of releasing, especially like the Disney animated stuff, that was sacred and would not be something that somebody could just go to the store and get a copy of on VHS or DVD or whatever. That was something that would be in the theater. Maybe they would reformat it and broadcast it like once a year or something. But you couldn't just go buy a film if you liked it. The only place you could see it would be in a theater, and you would have to go to the theater when it then kind of comes back for another round. And that's completely changed, obviously, since the introduction of every Disney movie being available. The Disney Vault, they used to call it, where they started releasing some copies, but it would only be for short periods of time in limited quantities, and then it was just kind of the general release, and that's what people know today. So that was never a necessity in their recent life, or maybe life in general.
Alrighty.
But also, too, stuff didn't used to end up right on DVD or streaming. You would have a period where if you liked the film and wanted to watch it, you knew it was going to be another 3 months or something before you could watch it at home. So you maybe do go back to the theater, because that would be your only other opportunity unless you want to wait.
All right. Here's a vulnerable question.
Uh-oh.
You ever cry in the movie theater?
I imagine I probably have. I can't think of necessarily a specific example. I don't what I'll say is I don't think I suppress stuff. Bawling and, being uncontrollable, I don't think so. But I don't think that there's really anything to be shamed about by doing that, unless you're somehow, as I said, so over the top that you're causing problems for like other viewers, but they're missing the dialogue. Unless it's like that, so I'd say probably. How about you?
I'm sure I have. I don't remember all the specifics when I did, but I did cry last summer during the Superman movie. There's one point where Clark Kent is having a conversation with his father or something, and back in Kansas, and it's a pretty good scene. It's very well written, well acted. It's a great movie overall. But when you talk about people being uncontrollable in a movie theater, my grandmother, she was actually taken out of a movie theater when she was 7 years old because she saw the movie, I think it was Boys Town, and she couldn't get over the fact that Mickey Rooney, remember him? His character, when he was a child actor, his character was an orphan, and she said that she was just hysterical about that. That was just so sad for her.
Wow. Actually, that is a good point. As a younger kid, there had to have been experiences where something was presented and it was either terrifying or just sad. It wasn't in a movie theater. The one that I really remember is I was watching Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and there was the fight between like the wasp and the ant, and I was like so upset that the ant perished, and I was like, let me get a Band-Aid and I'm going to put it on the TV, and because the TV was glass. It would be like, if you did that on the TV now, you'd ruin your flat screen. But no, the TV was glass then, so you'd just wipe off. But it was like, okay, it's a movie. It's okay. You don't,
I love that your first response, your sincere first response was to put a Band-Aid on the TV.
It is a pure response. It's like, what can I do here? And that's the only possible solution. And so,
Are there any movies that you wish you saw when they were first released? Well, for me, I think the go-to has to be the very first Star Wars, to be there among those crowds.
Oh, you mean in general? Like, you could be bored at any
movie.
Point in
it's
time.
like, I wish I could have been there for Casablanca. I could have been there for this, and that.
I am fully with you there on Star Wars. Absolutely.
Yeah, the original Star Wars movie, you have to catch that, because you don't have to do too much digging, that nobody was expecting this movie over there. My mother was talking about just being stunned about seeing the opening title crawl, and then just seeing the Star Destroyer going overhead. I mean, even the guys who made the models for that shot said they were surprised by the final product. They didn't think it was going to look like that. It wasn't going to sound like that. And they said the audible gasp in the theaters. I mean, if you ever want to talk about a phenomenon, oh my gosh, Star Wars. But
yeah, and I would think even to a lesser extent, but the Indiana Jones movies, seeing the first three when they came out, would have probably been awesome. And everybody, probably was dressing up as Indy for Halloween's to come, and that would have been another one, I think. But yeah, any of those, how could you not?
Well, also thinking about seeing Jaws in the initial run. I mean, that was the first summer blockbuster.
Yeah.
Just imagine that. And I think of another one. Geez, I'm just going to start mentioning 1970s movies, but The Exorcist. You remember I told you stories about how some towns, their theaters were like, we're not showing this movie. And so people would just arrange bus trips to go to the nearest town or city that had it there. So just imagine that. I mean, that's a story in and of itself.
There was something kind of magical I've used a few times, but I will say that reminisces seeing a magic trick in person or something. So magical by the more literal definition, but that there was no other opportunity to consume the media unless you went in to go consume it. And I don't know that could really ever exist in the same way again, unless there's probably some artists that have said that they're only going to release something on film and do that, but it's not anywhere near the same kind of phenomenon, and I don't think could really be. No, unless some private investor had a very big passion for doing that, and even still, somebody probably sneaks in a camera and records it somehow, and it gets on YouTube. Having that sort of framework to experience the magic in, I think would be awesome.
But it's the phenomenon. It is the shared experience of it again, like I'm saying. I mean, to me, it's kind of like going to see your favorite musician perform in concert, or it's going to see your favorite athletes perform in a game, which I think is very interesting, because depending on the sport and how frequently it's played and how cheap the tickets are, you could see your favorite athlete, on a near daily basis. Maybe if you're a baseball or a hockey or basketball fan. And it's just like, okay,
if you have the unlimited bank account.
Yes.
The unlimited plan on your bank account, like the dining hall at school, like, yeah. But yes, you theoretically could go see.
But the whole thing is that we don't see, we don't throw down money to see Matt Damon or Leonardo DiCaprio or Paul Newman and Robert Redford or any of these people. We didn't do that. I mean, you don't get the chance. Like, if you did run into any of those guys, that was a life-changing experience. But it could be like, oh, Shohei Ohtani, I've seen you so many times and play over there. So it's not as, shocking when you see that person. I mean, you're definitely going to be shocked when you see Shohei Ohtani, but it's probably not as much as a movie star.
Yeah, those movie stars, people would, if they wanted a picture of their favorite star or something, they would write into the star and ask for a picture of them, and hopefully one that's autographed. But there wasn't internet or something, and maybe somebody, like a Marilyn Monroe or something transcended, and there were maybe some print posters or something. But some of these people that people would be like, love their performance and stuff, that weren't necessarily the short A list of levels. You would have to write in and try to. It was a different world.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we've been talking about regular kinds of movie going experiences, even slight variations, but all within a theater. What about the open field version, the drive-in? Have you had experience? What are your thoughts?
I have never been to a drive-in. I would love to go to one someday.
Oh, Kevin. So that actually, probably the closest movie theater to my house back in the Albany area is a drive-in theater. And I had been, actually, I think only 2 times, but it was something that we would drive past every time we went to visit my grandma. And it was just there. So it was a very, kind of accessible type experience. And it is very different, but still has some similarities where you are all sharing an experience of looking at something on a screen and trying to take that in as a group of people. But you have a bunch of kind of added distractions. You have, the getting up to go to the snack bar. It's kind of in the center of the whole thing, and you walk there instead of like that's on your way in, and you go to your seat and you sit down. So there's a bit of kind of back and forth, and you're passing other vehicles. And then the sound. I mean, some of the places it would be the speaker that would actually go inside the window of the car to get mono sound. You wouldn't really have that. And then they started doing they'd have the little FM station set up that you'd tune your car radio in, but it's completely different. And actually the experience that I had the more recent time going to a drive-in theater was that period of time where they stopped printing movies on film, and there was no really theaters that were showing it, but they still made a few prints, and it was drive-in theaters, and this theater still was projecting on film. And I got a film viewing experience that I didn't even realize I was going to get because they didn't have a digital projector, and that was the only way that they could show on that size screen with that type of thing. Now they have a digital projector, but that was like a little bonus. But yeah, it's a totally different thing, and I don't know that you'd want to watch every movie like that if you want to get the kind of full immersive sound. But is it something that you are really interested to do? That sounds like a possible remote for us.
Why not? I mean, I've never been to one. I am 35 years old. I am old enough to run for president, and I haven't been to a drive-in movie theater. I mean, it's why not? It is a bucket list item. I mean, from what I know about drive-in movies, like my dad said when they stopped trending, when it was like they were kind of fading out into these like these little relics, like these little treasures that you have near Albany, it was for like a lot of cheap, scary movies and also kind of borderline porn at that time, which I think does sum up a little bit of the drive-in experience at some level when you got privacy in your car and you got someone with you.
That is completely valid. And also, I mean, you do get generally a double picture when you're seeing a drive-in, and it's kind of, the ongoing kind of thing was, the first movie is kind of the one for the full family, and then the second movie is maybe one that the kids are asleep for, and, you could look at that in the very kind of more innocent way that it's the movie itself is not as resonant, or you could look at that as an opportunity that maybe, it was a little different of a viewing experience. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I certainly would like to go see the drive-in movies. I mean, especially the the horror ideas, but I think it just it's not quite it's what makes horror so appealing. Like we were talking about in The Shining with the uncanny valley, like something that ought to be something, but it's just a little off. Yeah. So the idea that you're sitting in your car watching a movie on full display sharing, so it's like, okay, we're kind of sitting together like we're in a movie theater, but we're not in a movie theater. So I think that's what opens it up for like the scary movies, like even the cheap slasher movies, like get the Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, or even some of the pioneering, bloody B movies or something like that. So I think there's
the trick is too that you have to, when it gets to, you have to maybe have a sense of what the movie is beforehand, and the kind of more tense parts, and then you sneak out of the car, hide kind of underneath somebody else's car, and then just pop up at the scary part and scare the shit out of them.
Oh no, man, that's just mean.
Hey, they want the full immersive experience.
So are you doing that at Jaws or something like that? After like a really, like the opening scene, Chrissy gets eaten by the shark, and then someone's just shivering, and then you just bang on their window like, bah!
I will say that I mentioned him in the Christmas Carol episode. My 7th grade English teacher, he introduced us to a wide variety of media that wasn't just written word, and we get into kind of our sci-fi unit, and we're watching some Twilight Zone films, and he actually was, the day that he was screening those, it was a substitute that was there because he had meetings in the building, but he timed he had to get something from the room or something, so he timed it as like their the tensest moment of whatever it is, and then he kind of just came in the door, it wasn't over the top, but it was a little kind of like, hey, I'm entering, and everybody's like, whoa, hey.
I mean, that's another thing about the movies that I love talking about how we can kind of be traumatized going back from certain flicks as well. Like it's still shaking with us. The example I like to use, did you ever see the Conjuring movies?
No.
The very first one came out, and my brother Andrew had just graduated from high school, and his girlfriend at the time, they were both going to the local movie theater, but they were going to see different movies. So he and his friends wanted to go see The Conjuring, and she and her friends were going to see Despicable Me 2, and two totally different movies. They
could not be more similar movies.
Yeah, and Despicable Me 2 was sold out, and so she said to him, oh, we'll just go with you. And he was like, no, you don't like scary movies. And she was like, yeah, that's fine. And he brought her back home, and, they were dropped off by their friends at her house, and Jack was supposed to come over to pick him up, and Jack was not happy about that. And so Andrew's trying to console her. It's like she's really shaken up by this movie. I mean, just you don't have to see too many clips to realize how this could unsettle you. Just about, I think that's one of the best depictions of ghosts that I've ever seen in a movie. But he's trying to calm her down, saying it's just a movie. And Jack shows up at the house. Jack's tired. He doesn't give a shit. And he starts banging on the door like he's trying to tell him, get the hell out of here, let's go home. And that just totally set her off.
So I always have to go in with my SpongeBob reference. It reminds me of the robots. He watched the scary robot movie on the night, and then he thinks Mr. Krabs and everybody's replaced by robots. And it's just like he's on edge for the rest of the...
That's something I do kind of miss is... the fear that you had as a child, the possibility of nightmares is like, I mean, it's kind of weird to say you miss those days when you stayed up so late because you were afraid to go to sleep because you thought you were going to have a nightmare from something.
Yeah, that is, and it seems kind of backwards too, because you'd think now if you're really scared, you'd want to go to sleep if you heard some sound outside or something. But it's the movie going experience. It does hit differently with being younger and some of this stuff, the same way that just general anxiety about very benign things that you look back at as an adult, and I don't know, it's got some parallels.
Well, there was the mystery to it on the other side. We hardly knew how these movies were made, but we also we saw the behind the scenes stuff, but there was still something about it that just still mystified us, and we didn't quite know how it could possibly turn out. And
That's a very good point. I remember there was what was the movie channel? It was before like Turner Classic Movies and stuff. It was just like there was one channel that would always show TV Land, I think it was. Or I guess that's not movies, that's old TV shows or something. But they had some of the older westerns, and like somebody's head, I guess, got chopped off or something. I don't know. And I was like, how did they? Is there like a neck collar the person wears, or it's like they're like, no, it's not a person in that shot. It's like a different, they cut to something. I'm like, like the kind of thinking an animated movie is actual like people that it hits differently.
3D movies, yay or nay?
My answer may be a little lengthy, so I'll let you go first.
I think I'm a nay. I just 3D was more exciting when you were a kid. I don't think it enhances the experience. Like I said, when I saw the very first Avatar movie, I saw it in 2D, and I was just as impressed by it as I could be with 3D. But it did go the extra. I'll admit, it did go the extra mile when you finally saw it in 3D. But not every movie does this. And, do you need to have 3D? I mean, talk about the Hobbit movies. I enjoyed the movies, but it was like, why do they need to be in 3D? How about you?
I have a slightly complicated view on the matter, and I think we should maybe save getting into the longer topic for a later episode. I tend to agree with a lot of what you said, but there's a bit more to it, I think.
I was looking for just a simple yay or nay answer, but if you got a whole stack of papers there, I think we're going to have to make a whole episode out of that.
That's going to do it for us today on Moviehouse Mystics. I'm Koda Yule.
And I'm Kevin Gainey. See you soon.